Good. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me. My name is Leslie Karen Hammond. I am the Tell Your Story expert. I am joined today by a dear friend of mine, Jenny Kovacs, who is known by many as the Queen of Being Seen. She is going to impart a lot of fabulous wisdom today, so get your pen and paper ready. You're going to be taking some wonderful notes. So just a couple of details before we get started. Whether you're watching us live or you're catching us on the replay, thank you so much for dropping by. Now you got a lot of places to spend your time. And the goal of this program is always to give you a lot of really valuable content so that you can take a couple of things and implement them immediately into your business. So please feel free to ask questions. The program lasts about 45 to 60 minutes, and we'll be prompting you for questions at about the 35-minute mark. So please feel free to use the chat box that you see below and ask away. Jenny is an expert in the realms of communication and being more visible. She and I had the pleasure of meeting back in October of 2014, and we hit it off right away. And I know that you're going to love her. And I'm so grateful that she's even here today because she's coming from across the pond, which, granted in the internet realms, it doesn't matter if you're an ocean away or not. It's just like you're sitting across from someone having a cup of coffee. And that's what the goal of this program is all about. So please comment in the chat box as you would like to. And I am so happy to introduce you to my dear friend, Jenny Kovacs. She has a lot of experience working in corporate and also as an entrepreneur with helping people get their message out. She has programs that she's created that help people build their confidence when speaking and articulate much better. She's also worked with people in a sales capacity to help them boost their sales. And I just took a program with her called Visibility Vibes, which, not that I'm shy, or you might have guessed that, but I love being on video. And Jenny has really helped me to up-level that game. So by taking her course, I realized that, you know what? The hair doesn't have to be perfect. The makeup doesn't have to be perfect. I don't have to worry if I'm like out somewhere and there's a little background noise. It's just all about being authentic and, coming from a place of service and giving back. So please join me in giving a super warm welcome to Jenny Kovacs. Woo! This is the part where the audience claps. Woo!
I'm so engrossed in that introduction. I was like, this woman sounds wonderful. Who is she? I want to meet her.
Yeah, right? Did I miss her? Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today and to share with our listeners how important it is to be visible. And if there's one thing that I took from you, it was the power of being authentic. And I know that for some of us in business, that's really big hurdle to get over because we always want everything to be, like just so. And I mean, even the photo that I have attached to my bio here in Blab is, the perfect photo shoot, image that I could never make myself look like that all on my own. But that's okay. It's like, hey, this is me and this is who I am. So Jenny, I would love for you to share with us how you got in the realms of visibility and, why it's so important to you to be helping people with this.
It's such a big question. I'm going to answer that backwards. So why is it important to help people with this? Because for me, people matter. They really matter. And the thing that almost breaks my heart is when people don't feel seen, heard, or noticed. And two places that I saw this show up especially was, well, there's three actually. The two main places I saw it show up are when people have their own business. Because they have to wear so many hats and do so many things. They have to be a marketer, they have to be a salesperson, they have to be able to promote themselves, they have to be able to do the stuff that they do. And the second was, I would say in the realms of career, which I know is kind of one of the same thing. But I myself, before I started my business in 2010, I worked in lots of different sectors, but the main sector that I came out of was financial services. It was an industry that on paper I shouldn't have been working in, but I loved it. And one of the places there was came from me saying kind of, a few years before that, the thing that a lot of people say to themselves, I'm going to make a go of it. I'm going to have a really great career. I'm going to go up the ladder. I'm going to get promoted. And then there's no one that really teaches you what to do. So I actually had I'm full of my backstories, and I have my own story of how I navigated that. And it wasn't even done on purpose. The third place, just for the curious people amongst us, is in relationships. No, I'm not a relationship coach. But one of the things, again, that I see and hear around me with friends, especially that are single or going through relationships, is the communication either needs to go up a gear or it breaks down. Yep. So there's that element of it. And then there's the element of the confidence maybe that's been knocked afterwards, where people start to say to themselves, I'm ready to start dating, or I'm looking for Mr. Right or Mrs. Right or whoever. And a lot of the time, people almost feel a little bit invisible in that realm as well. So although I don't sort of coach or train or speak on relationships, it's quite a major part of that. So how I got into it, I will say something I hope really resonates with anyone that's thinking about starting a business, has started a business, has decided to do something completely different in their business, has been doing it for years. People believe that you pick a business that you want to do from day one, you get the perfect website and you get the perfect pitch and you get the perfect, elevator pitch and everything else like that. And then you stop and you start working and making your money and growing your client base. And the truth of the matter is, if you're into development, if you're into personal development, owning a business can be a bit like climbing a mountain. You think, oh yeah, I've just got to climb the mountain. And you see little kind of dips and starts. If somebody told me that at the beginning, I think I still would have done it. It makes you feel a bit, it makes you feel normal to know that that is the case. So the reason I explained that was because when I first started in my business, I'd had this sort of, this corporate background. I'd worked in travel, so I knew travel well. I'd known customer services. I'd been involved in sales. I'd been a trainer. And I'd managed to carve my own corporate career from bringing those things together. And I was fortunate enough to work for a company who recognised and saw my skill set and kind of let me run with it. And I got promoted very, very quickly, had really lovely benefits, the company credit card, the car allowance, so I ran very quickly. And then I started my business and I thought I'll just replicate the same thing again. I'll run very quickly. And it was a bit like running on wet ice.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, and I think because people don't often talk about that, unless it's attached to a huge story, I think people go through and think the visibility piece is like the piece that will automatically come after I've done the website, after I've printed my business cards, after I've created my perfect programs and they're shiny and new and ready to put out there. So how I got into visibility itself was that I got to a point in my business. Now, remembering that I started I'm in going into my sixth year. And when I started, I said, okay, I'm going to pull together the knowledge that I've got. And just in case the knowledge I've got isn't enough, I'm going to pull together another skill that I have. So in 2010, if you'd asked me what I did, I'd have said training and coaching on one hand, cakes and chocolates on the other, because everyone needs a cake for a birthday or a wedding, right? So I thought, well, I can balance out the two. If the training work and the coaching work's very quiet, then I can go and do the cakes and chocolates. It was only, I think in 2012, so 2 years in, that I was doing both of these things that a few people just didn't get. And I remember making a cake one day, and there were a few things, but I was making this cake and it was going to take me 3 days to make the cake. And I think the cake cost something like £85. And I got a call from a very well-known cloud company who wanted me to deliver some training. They were going to pay for 3 days training, covering my expenses, and pay for a couple more days for me to create the training. And they were offering me £1,800 a day. And I had to say no because I was making this cake. And you know what? I just thought to myself at this point, that's not the best business model I could have. I love making the cakes, but you know what? I'm just going to go in and go for the coaching and the training because I love it and I get to see the results of people standing out. What I thought I was doing was niching down into presentations and things. But what actually happened was that people were starting to be seen and heard. But at that point, in 2010 to 2012, I still didn't realize that I was helping people kind of to be visible. So fast forward to today, it's only when I kind of look back in my life and think, you know what? The presentations were making people stand out. When I worked corporately and trained people, I was helping them to gain the knowledge and sometimes the confidence, although I didn't know it, to stand out. They were getting promoted. They were getting more sales. They were able to, make more discerning decisions. And they were making lives for themselves that they didn't even imagine or dream of. And when I looked back at that, I was like, you know what? That's what I want to be doing. That's what I want to do in the world. That's the effect that I want to have for other people. And you know what? If I'm on Blab and I don't have loads of makeup on and my hair's decided to go with the rain and go a bit frizzy, I don't care because I can help people, you know?
Well, as you were telling part of that story, and I'm thinking about how we do have this perception of everything has to be perfect. And I remember being told, when I heard the term good enough the first time, I was like, I can't say it. That's not in my vocabulary. I don't know how to do that. Recovering perfectionist, as I'm sure that many of our viewers or listeners are, but I think we've been so conditioned that, practice that saying, practice makes perfect. And, I don't use that anymore. I don't believe in perfection. Not that I settle, but I know that I do the best I can do. And that has to be, good enough. So please share with us about, and forgive me, I'm looking at my notes here. Share with us what people can do if they are, say, just in the very beginning stages of their business, or if they've been in business for a little while, but perhaps they're still employed, or they're thinking it's time for me to make that jump. So what's the easiest thing people can do to start getting more visibility?
Okay, so the very first thing, regardless of where you are on that scale, is to know what it is you want to be visible for, and know who you want to be visible to. So what do I mean by that? Quite often we want to create a business or a life or do something because we think it feels good, but we also think it's quote unquote realistic and makes sense. So what happens is, a bit like me, in some respects, I could have started this business like 16 years ago, but I thought that there were certain things that I had to do, certain ways I had to be. And then the little kind of gremlins come in and say, well, how would I make money if I did that thing? And you know what, for people that are working and looking at making the transition, might be a little bit controversial with some of the kind of the self-help gurus out there, but don't jump and the net will appear. While you're at that job, keep thinking about what you want to do, who you want to, to be visible to, and why you want to do it. And start to play with that and have the luxury of being in that job and earning that money until you feel confident that you've figured it out. Because otherwise you jump and the net appears, but some people have to free fall a few thousand feet before they hit that net.
I've jumped out of planes before and I've loved it, but the entrepreneurial leap is so much different than jumping out of a plane. And you probably know who Jim Rohn is.
Yes.
And I love listening to him. And one of his stories shared about, in the beginning when he was employed and he was working, part-time in he would call it working full-time on his job and part-time on his fortune.
I love that.
I know, it was beautiful. I'm like, geez, where was he in my life before I made that leap? And it was fascinating that he stayed employed for a long time. Not that we're being advocates for that, but he stayed employed for a long time because he liked the story. And to say that I'm working, part-time on my fortune, and then be able to transition to, well, I'm working part-time on my job and full-time on my fortune. I mean, how awesome is that? So if people want to, well, actually want maybe a little bit strong of a word. Some people are a little bit shy about starting off with doing video right away because they feel like, oh, I have to, my hair has to be just so, and, everything needs to be perfect. What could you offer to people to get them over that speed bump of, well, I can't just do a video on my phone and post it live on Facebook?
So here's the thing. Who are you doing it for? Are you doing it for you or are you doing it for them? This is actually possibly easier for service-based businesses, and they think it's harder. So if you're a person that provides a service, you're selling what I would call the invisible, something that you can't see. How do you, like if I'm selling you this bottle of water, I can say to you, have a look at it. Do you like how it looks? Taste it, drink it. What do you think? When I'm selling you my consultation services, training, it's a different method. It's about kind of describing the possibilities for the person. So for that reason, get really, get really under the skin of what is possible for them rather than what is possible for me. When you start thinking about yourself, like if I came on here and started thinking about myself, I would say, oh my gosh, maybe I should put a bit more makeup on. Maybe my hair should have been completely straight. I mean, you can see there's a bit sticking out there. So that's the first part of that. The other thing, of course, is when you're thinking about them and thinking about why and what's possible for that person, it's like this huge wave of emotion sweeps over you. And when that happens and you're doing it to help other people, then it makes it much easier to not care about things like hair and makeup. And then the third thing that I want to say, I'm a visibility specialist after all, so I'm going to put my stake in the ground and say this. I think in this day and age of social media, I mean, look at us, we're different parts of the world and we're talking to other people that are in different parts of the world. I think there's much less gravitas these days when you're sat in a very polished studio, with a big bunch of flowers behind you, with perfect lighting, perfect hair, perfect makeup. What that actually does, and that's not condoning the use of that. There are times when that is absolutely necessary. But what it does to the person viewing, when you're sat at a desk, sweating your backside off and dreaming of starting a business, and all you see are business people that have got perfect suits on, hair and makeup, your brain starts to go towards, how can I look like them? How can I be like them? And what that does is it makes you want to reach or attain a goal that actually isn't even your goal. It really disconnects you from what you're striving for. So, stay connected with what you want to achieve and how you want to achieve it, and show up as a real person. I might have scraggly hair and I might not have a lot of makeup on, and in a minute I may go and turn the light on. But you know what? At the same time, I've had real great results in my life. I've spoken to some of the most amazing people. bless Wayne Dyer. I got to speak to Wayne Dyer, you know, before he passed. I've been able to speak from big stages. I've been able to speak to small rooms. And sometimes I pinch myself and think, how did a girl with humble beginnings grow up and have a miraculous life? So, you know, there are things that can be done. There's also a bit of space for being a chameleon. If I knew that in order to affect, you know, I don't know, let's say Oprah was going to offer me a TV show next week, and she said to me, I just need to see what you'd be like in a studio. Of course, I'd get my backside into a polished studio with perfect lighting. It just gives somebody an opportunity to see me in a different way. And in business, sometimes being the chameleon isn't hiding and being invisible or sitting behind the screen. The being the chameleon is meeting people where they are. So if that big corporate company that you know you can help will expect to see you in a suit or a shirt and tie, then go for it. Go and meet them in a suit and a shirt and tie. Do some stuff that connects with them, because it's about them, not about you. Does that make sense even?
It does, and it's perfect. Well, in fact, I wrote that down, meet people where they are. So I just, as I'm making every effort to pay full attention to what you're telling me, my mind is going to, okay, you know, what do I want to be visible for? Who do I want to be visible to? And thinking all of these places now where I might want to go to shoot videos, even just like little snippets of things, because that's where these people would feel more comfortable. And I think a lot of times when we start off with marketing ourselves, we think about we fall back and always default to what we know the most without necessarily putting that focus on the people that we want to serve. And sometimes we don't know enough about them to be able to meet them where they're at. So like just for example, if my tribe is a group of people who, you know, are women with powerful stories because they've learned a lot the hard way, and now they're at a point in their life when they're ready to give back, and you know, maybe they want to publish a book to leave a legacy, or you know, they want to, you know, publish a book because they want more speaking gigs or something. But what I hadn't thought about in the past was, I go to networking events because I want to seek people out, but am I focusing my attention on an event where the people I want to most reach are?
Exactly.
So I really appreciate what you said about meet people where they're at. So we know that first thing is we need to know what we want to be visible for and who we want to be visible to. And then once we've got those things down, we're clear on those, we want to meet people where they're at. So tell us, what is the next thing that we want to invite people to consider?
Okay, so I'm going to, at this point, the trainer in me can't help it. I'm going to give you an exercise. So whether you're watching this live or watching this on the there's a really easy question for me to ask, which isn't always the easiest of questions to answer. It's just this: who are you?
That's a hard question.
It is, but let me give you some ideas of how you can start to jump into the who you are, because it's all right saying be who you are, be yourself, go out there. You know, what kind of music do you like listening to? Really, you know, I have a story, and if with your permission and if it's okay, I'll tell the story of the afro, because I think this demonstrates it.
Please do.
But it's like, you know, these are questions to answer. So pen and paper, you know, who are you really? What's your favorite music? What's your favorite drink? So I'm going to be really honest with you. I love a green smoothie like the next person, but I like a glass of wine. I like a cheeky vodka every now and then. It's not to say that I have vodka for breakfast, and you know, and I'm not advocating drinking. But if any drinks companies are, you know, wanting to get us to test green smoothie or otherwise, you know, let us know. But you know, it's like I think that the reason that I have that balance is because I like a bit of this, and I like a bit of that. I was doing this exercise, and I do this continually, even like with my clients. I look at what's the commonalities. So I was with a client doing a video VIP day, like a private day where we were going through some videos, and I took out this time schedule thing that I had, a stationery piece, and she was like, oh my gosh, and we were freaking out over stationery. I think every single person that I've ever worked with likes stationery in some shape or form. Now, that's not what they would teach in business school.
Oh, so that's what you mean about the commonality piece.
Start to really go deeper, because people, like, they scrape the surface, what commonalities, yes, they're where people hang out, but what are the characteristics, what are the traits? So start to ask yourself, and just start with you. Don't even wear the filter of, to find my ideal clients, because it will kind of go pear-shaped. But what's your favorite food? I gave a client actually a few years ago an exercise. I got a £50 note out, and I said to her, if I was to give this to you and tell you to go and buy yourself the most perfect breakfast tomorrow, what would you buy? I said, you can buy anything. The only rules are that you're not allowed to buy for anybody else. You've just got to buy for yourself. And it's interesting, what would you buy? People come up with all sorts of things, from high-end coffee. They'd make the best scrambled eggs. One person said, but they had to be organic scrambled eggs, and when you start to look at just even a small exercise like that, you really start to get under the skin of what makes you tick, what you stand for and what you don't stand for. People often stop there, but I say go deeper, go onto the, go onto that surface and keep asking. You don't have to do it in one hit, but keep asking, what do you like? I used to like old school dance music. In fact, I still love it now. And somebody said to me recently on a course, if you were to be put on a desert island, what music would you take with you? And when I told them, look at me, I'm a woman of color, and people expect me to say Bob Marley or something. It's a way that we've kind of grown up and been conditioned. So to hear me say this kind of dance music, they were like, oh my gosh, And any time that I've been on a webinar or I've been on an interview and I've talked about old school dance music, I guarantee probably even after this, I get people messaging me saying, oh my gosh, me too. And I used to wear this, or I used to like that. So quite often, more of who we are, the more of who we are, the more of that we can show, the more that seems to attract more of those like-minded people to us without even trying. And the thing about visibility is that visibility should be something that shines from you, from your inside out, so that people gravitate towards you. So, we've got a few people. I better say hello. So, hello, Y Young.
So, RK Man and RY Young. Yes, hi. Thanks for joining us. Well, actually, that was a good segue, real quick, into when you had said keep asking questions. To try and find more of these commonalities that we have with people that we'd like to work with. So what came up for me was I'm thinking about. I don't know about you, but I belong to a lot of different Facebook groups, and sometimes people add you without your permission. That's a whole nother story. But
don't get me started on that.
Yeah, exactly. But so when you had said that, it made me think, well, how do I choose which Facebook groups, or maybe I just do one, but that's probably a really good place to keep asking questions like what you're saying, and to find out what some of those commonalities are, because there's probably more situations to do that than I'm thinking of, but I would love some examples on where you think we can apply that, and what might be a good starting point for that.
Well, first thing is you have to start with yourself. You have to apply that with yourself. And this is why, this program is about making an impact. And it's very hard to make an impact when there's maybe somebody that you're trying to connect with, but you're not feeling it. So it is a feeling. So before, like, sometimes people go in and start asking those questions of people in groups. And I would say, pause, don't do that. Ask these questions of yourself. And if you're not sure, ask the people around you. You know, I remember sending a text message out and saying to people, if you had to use 3 words to describe me, what would you use? I sent them to clients, I sent them to past colleagues, I sent them to friends, I even sent one to my sister, you know, so people that knew me and had known me for a long time, and just collected those 3 words back and looked for the commonalities. And sometimes people will say things like, one of the things that came back that a lot of people said was intelligent. And I knew I'd struck something because it made me go, me? And it's interesting because the story that I tell myself is that I didn't go to university. You know, I didn't go to university. I'm going to answer someone's question. They're saying, is this about networking? It can be, but I'll come back to that. So I often felt like I had to do 150% of climbing and scrabbling to try and catch up with the people that had been like college educated or university educated. But, you know, let's face it, without that university degree, I still was able to work my way up in financial services to a very, very high position, you know, getting quite a big salary and lots of perks and benefits. And in fact, I worked just below board level. So the thing is, you know, it's really, really important to be able to be visible and shine your light out there, and know what questions to ask yourself before trying to, you know, kind of get that from other people.
Okay, so if we can circle back for a minute, then thank you for saying that. So I won't start asking questions in Facebook groups just yet.
Don't do that yet. Do it for yourself.
All right. Well, so we'll say I ask these questions of my, you know, like of myself. I find out how people, you know, might describe me in a few words. So, what's the next step in asking more, you know, asking things of other people to try and find the commonalities? So I'm trying to connect the dots here and see where it ends and how we can make that all part of our everyday communication practice.
Okay, so here's the secret. And this will answer your question, I hope, as well as the lady who, or the person, I can't see, who's saying, is this pertaining to network? Visibility isn't about you going out and finding the right people. Visibility is almost about you being comfortable in your own skin so that people come to you. So next time you go to a Facebook group or next time you go networking, set yourself an intention, a goal, an objective, whatever you want to call it, that you will connect with you know, a number of people. So when I go to networking, and I've done BNI and the whole work, I will set myself an intention that I really want to connect with 3 people who I can experience some really great opportunities with. Now, the first time I did this, I didn't go trying to chase other people down, because I know myself, and this never stops. You always find out more facets of yourself. But because I knew myself, I showed up as myself, you know, the woman that likes that dance music, the woman that prefers to eat this type of food or drink this type of drink, the person that likes people who are kind, the person who likes working in business where people can be professional with each other but have fun and enjoy themselves. You know, and as I showed up as that person, the first person I met and spoke to and had breakfast with, I'm still friends with to this day, so from 2010. This person has bought programs from me since. This person has recommended people to me, and I've recommended people to them. You know, another example of that, just by being myself, it meant that because I knew where I was at the moment, and this is perfect for networking. In fact, I've got a video on YouTube where I actually did this live at a networking event.
Ah, nice.
I went to a networking event with a friend of mine, and I said to her, I prefer just to survey the room. So here's something you can do when you're networking. Go to the networking event. When you get in there, just stand back and observe everybody. And I always have a stream of people coming up to me. I've even had people queuing to speak to me, and I'm thinking, I said, "Oh, are you waiting to speak to me?" And they're like, "Yes." A queue of about 8 or 9 people. I wasn't the speaker at the networking event. So I'll just stand back and I'll observe people, and people will start to come over. And the first thing that I do when I'm networking isn't to quickly get my pitch in and let people know what I do. I want to find out about other people because I'm interested. So once that connection's made, then I'll ask the questions. Now, if you're doing this in a Facebook group or online, the thing to do is to go in, and it's almost like you don't need to ask them what they like because of how people post. You engage with that post. People think visibility is about going into a group, putting a nice quirky post, sharing some content with a question at the end, when in fact, be a voyeur, be an observer, go into the group, look at what people are talking about. And when people are talking about things that resonate with you, respond to them, like them, share them, even if you don't know them. And again, even from doing that, I've had people that have become paying clients just from things that I've done. And people have said to me, I've been watching you for a while. And the freakiest one is when you actually go out to an event and someone comes running up to you and says, "Are you Jenny Kovacs?" You have no idea who they are. And you're like, "Yes, that's me, guilty as charged," or whatever you want to say. And then they'll say, "Oh, I watched a video where you did this," or, a couple of years ago, you spoke about this, or I heard you speak somewhere, or I saw a post that you put. And, a really good friend of mine that I worked with in 2003, hadn't seen for a few years, said something similar. "Your Monday motivations, oh my gosh, I went through a split with my wife and they kept me going." I had no idea. They never liked any of the posts. They never commented. They never responded. So that's almost like the secret. The secret isn't go and chase them down. It's almost like be a lighthouse. Turn your light up inside on full, I nearly said full volume, but that wouldn't make sense. Full beam. Put it out there in full beam. Take away any kind of arrogance or people should be coming to speak to me. Just stand there. Beam it out, and people will, I promise you, they'll come up and speak to you. They'll ask you about what you do. They'll come and book strategy sessions with you. It's like they feel the vibe. And this is what I say. This is why I call my program the Visibility Vibes. Visibility is the stuff you do. The vibes is how you are inside and how it makes them feel.
Well, wow, is all I can say. It's interesting how that philosophy is completely the opposite of how I have operated most of my networking life.
So you can start again. You can start again.
Well, I say that because, I love going to events where I don't know a single soul. And I get into the room and I observe a little bit, but I don't observe and stay put. I observe and then see who I want to meet and then make a beeline for them, and I go engage in conversation. So it's not like me to stay idle and observe. So I loved what you said about that. And ironically, the comment you made about with the Facebook posts is to go in and observe and just respond to something that moves you. Well, I did that this morning in a group that I was put into the group, I think because I was a speaker for this organization, actually at a couple different chapters. And I've never posted anything in the group. I haven't checked the rules. So I tend to be sensitive about that. You don't want to, just be disrespectful. But I went in, I read a post about a woman who was, going through a challenge, and she was asking, for people, what did she call it? Some like a I can't even remember, a Q something, but basically she said, this is what I'm going through. I'm having a problem with something, and I would love for people to ask questions of me. I won't answer them now, but I'll think about what you asked me, almost in such a way that it helps her to process what she's going through. And I didn't know who this woman was. I mean, I've never met her before, but I could like feel her pain in her question. And it was, yeah, so ironically, I did that this morning.
I mean, honestly, the thing is, what I share sometimes seems so simple that people can dismiss it and go, yeah, that's really good, but how do I actually get clients? So very quick story. I was in a Facebook group. It's a group for speakers. A lady posted a question in there and she said something about visibility. And I just thought, okay, stand back. If there's one thing I know for sure about visibility. So I answered. I didn't try and sell her anything. I didn't say, go and look at my page. I didn't post a link to my blog, nothing. I spoke to her and answered her question. And this was an English speaking group with an American lady in there. And a couple of hours later, so it was like bedtime. I think it was like midnight. I was about to turn into a pumpkin like Cinderella. And I got this Facebook message and somebody's mentioned you. So I went back into the group and had a look. And this woman just went, wow, wow, wow. And I thought, why wow, wow, wow? She told me that she had heard a tele summit that I had been on that was done with another American lady. She'd heard it and she said, when you spoke, I just thought, I know that name. I think I know that name. And what you offered resonated. So I went and got my notes. And when I opened my notebook, I'd written down vibes, Jenny Kovacs. Oh my gosh. And it's
Nice.
you. And I was like goosebumps, but that wasn't it. She then sent me a message and I got an invitation to go on another radio show in the US, which I did. And we communicated. I never tried to sell her anything. And she actually joined me on a small program that I had. So, and that all happened. This wasn't, years and years. This was within a space of like a couple of weeks. You know, and the thing is, it's about the connections that we make. Those connections take people like so much further. It's just, you know, and it's the sort of thing that I'll tell people and they'll say, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. It's not important. And it's like gold dust. Like, seek to connect with people. If you seek to hear, let people be feel heard and noticed and seen, the same thing will happen to you. You'll start getting recommendations from people you've never met before. It's just, you know, I'm passionate about it, and it definitely goes against the grain of anything else that other people talk about. There's this hunter-gatherer approach, but no one likes to be hunted or gathered, you know.
Well, yes, very true. And I'm sitting here, I'm smirking because I'm thinking, you know, I envisioned this conversation, you know, being a lot about video and things, but it wasn't time for that because what you shared with us is foundational in how we show up and how we get out there in a way that, you know, is a little different than what we do already. So I am so grateful that you had shared that, because I am going to make a much more conscious effort now when I go into a Facebook group or I go to a networking event, to be more the observer and to see what happens. So it's going to be a great experiment because, you know, usually I'm like a go-getter. Let's get out there. Let's do this. You know, I've been known to be on a mission to talk to as many people as I can. But that's shifting down more towards, all right, like you were saying, let's have a few really quality conversations and consider that a success.
And for those people that maybe don't like that kind of networking or that introducing, it's such a juicy thing to do, literally, to take away the nerves, that place in your stomach where you feel all jittery and prickly and, oh my gosh, I've got to speak to someone. Because even the most extrovert people, you know, even I, who loves meeting people, there's a moment before I walk in that room, I'm like, deep breath, I'm going in. You know, but there's a moment where I could possibly turn around and go, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. Use that kind of that nervous feeling in your stomach to settle, and imagine that's the kind of the dial with your lighthouse, your light bulb, and just start to like slowly turn it up and be your best, shiniest self to yourself, for yourself. And seriously, when I showed my friend this at the networking event, she was just like, oh my gosh, people just in streams came up to us. You didn't even have to move. So try it. It's juicy. It's juicy.
I will, and I'll report back how that goes. I don't think I have an event this week, but I do have a few next week. So,
and in fact, for those of you that have joined us, next time you go to a networking event or you're in a Facebook page, please try this out and come back to us. You know, Leslie's on Twitter. She's at Confidence BLDR, Builder. You'll see her details above her screen. I'm Jenny Kovacs at Giftwish. Let us know how you get on. And you know what? If you do it and you're like, okay, now I've done this, what's next? Like, contact us. You know, let us know that it worked and the difference it made. And you know, just, I'm nosy by nature. I like to know that people are really getting great stuff out of this. So,
well, I am posting right now. Okay, so I just posted how to find Jenny on Twitter. And I'm also going to, let's see, Jenny, I've got a couple of Facebook places for you to post. So do you want me to post the one that's Jenny Make It Happen or Visibility Vibe?
For those of you that want to up your visibility vibe, go to facebook.com/visibility vibe without the S on it. You'll see a page, Jenny Kovacs, the Queen of Being Seen.
Okay, there we go. I just posted it so people can find that easily.
Brilliant. I share stuff from there. I put videos in there, and also if you just put my name into Google, you'll find me all over the place. Yeah, Jenny Kovacs. You can see my name on the screen. There was one other thing, but I don't know how we're doing for time. I talked about the Afro story.
Yes, please get back to the end. No, we have a few more minutes. Yes, please do share.
Okay, so the other way in showing out to be visible and making an impact in visibility is sometimes it's the stories that you don't want to share or you think you can't share. So, and don't worry, if you're feeling like you want 10 tips to be visible with impact, I'll throw some out after this story, so you've got your money's worth too. So here's one of the things. So here I am, you know, visibility specialist and, you know, speaking out authentically and all that kind of good stuff and being real. And in 2013, I decided to go on a business retreat to Ecuador. So my hair looks not too dissimilar to this, apart from one little secret, which I'll come on to in a moment. So I went over to Ecuador. I was with a very small group of women for a retreat, about 7 of us. And there's a lady who's really well known now, Anne Wilson. She's known as the Wealth Chef, self-made millionaire, helps people to kind of find financial freedom, basically. She's really good, so worth looking up. Anyway, so she was one of the people on here, and we'd had a day where Anne hadn't arrived, but we'd all gone to this market, Ottervala Market, and people kept saying to me, because my hair wasn't as fuzzy as this, it's very long and sleek, "Oh, Jenny, your hair is so gorgeous." And I was like, "Thank you so much," you know. Anyway, all day we'd had conversations, we'd all been connecting, and that evening we had a dinner, and the lady leading the retreat said, "Tomorrow, everybody, we're going to go to the most powerful waterfall in Ecuador. You know, the indigenous people believe that you kind of, you know, you get rid of anything that no longer serves you." And everyone's like looking elated and smiling. My face is like a big smile on the outside, but inside I was shaking to my core, because what I didn't tell everybody when they were congratulating me on my hair was at that time I was wearing a wig. So every time somebody said, "Oh, your hair's so lovely," I was like, "Thank you." What I didn't say was, "Thank you, I'm wearing a wig." I mean, why would you say that? You know, I've now got extensions, because people always say, "Are you wearing a wig now?" I'm not. These are hair extensions though. But here is the problem. From the age of 17 until like a few years ago, so 42, something like that, I had always had some form of hair extension, wig, or something. But it was the reason that I had it. The reason that I had it was I felt almost like I wasn't good enough with my natural hair. How could I bust through the corporate ladder, you know, with my hair in its Afro-Caribbean natural state? It was a belief I had. It wasn't true. It was a story that I held. So I disguised my hair. So can you imagine my horror when this woman tells us that we're going to the most powerful waterfall in Ecuador? I'm smiling on the outside with everybody else, and I'm thinking, holy moly, what am I going to do? And I kid you not, this seriously actually went through my mind. I thought, well, I'll go to the waterfall and I'll just walk around like, oh my gosh, look at that over there. That way, you know, if it's powerful, I hold on to my hair. And then I thought, no, well, I could go, oh my gosh, look at the power of the waterfall. It's blown my hair away. And oh my gosh, such power. My life is going to be different. This is all rational thoughts at the time. And then the other thing I thought was, well, you know, if we're going to go to this waterfall, I could just take a chance. If my wig blows off, I'll just have to hide my embarrassment and go and get it out of the river. But the problem is I can swim, but not very well, not strong enough to swim through a current. All of this seemed rational to me. So that night I went back to my room and I just thought, what am I going to do? Because underneath my wig was my hair in its natural state, no treatments, in two little ponytails that made me look like a 4-year-old. But here's what went through my mind. You know, tomorrow when I get up and confess to everybody that my hair was a wig, they're going to think that I'm a liar. I'm not to be trusted in business. They're going to think I'm horrible. They're going to wonder why I didn't speak the truth. All this stuff went through my head to the point where I felt physically sick.
That's a lot. So much pressure.
I know, but this is the thing. We put ourselves under pressure. We tell ourselves these stories. And the worst of it was, none of it was true. And the very worst of this, and where this really shone a light for me for visibility, is that quite often there are things about ourselves that we hide. Now, I can look back at that story now and I can laugh about it. But at the time, I really thought if anybody knows that my hair isn't real, that they're going to like dismiss me, throw me off the planet. So the other piece of visibility and really knowing yourself, thinking about the stories from when you were a child to when, you know, where you are now, what is it about yourself that you hide to the world that you wouldn't like them to know? You know, there are money coaches out there that have had a story where before they made their money, they didn't have money. There are people out there who, you know, I had one lady that came up to me and said that she'd gone through abuse. And she wanted to use that abuse to try and help other people, but didn't think that she could talk about that. You know, how would she talk about it? You must come across this as a speaker and as a speaker trainer. So the next morning, I just figured, well, they're not going to like me. So I went down to breakfast with my hair about 14 inches shorter than it had been the day before. I'd like to say I sat and ate breakfast, but I felt so sick I couldn't eat. I remember trying to eat hard-boiled egg. And kind of, it's almost like I was sitting in shame. You know, my shoulders were hunched. I was looking down. I daren't look at anybody. And the reason why I give a shout out to Anne is from South Africa. And Anne got up, she'd had her breakfast, and she said, Jenny, I much prefer your hair like that. You can see the real you, you know. And for someone who talks about visibility and authenticity, now we can see who you really are. And off she waltzed. And I was kind of like, my shoulders were down, but kind of like one eye cocked and one shoulder up. And I thought, okay. I think she's saying that just to be kind. And everyone else followed suit and off they went. And I thought, oh, they're just saying that. And as I say, I laugh about this now, but, you know, everyone has their kind of like their deep, dark secrets, or they think they're deep, dark secrets, or things about themselves that they think people shouldn't see. Like the person who wants to do business in tracksuit bottoms, or you call them yoga pants over there, and a jumper, but they think they have to wear a suit and tie their hair back and they have to be somebody else. So who is it that you're not being? Because the very thing that you share with other people is the very thing that actually magnetically draws people to you.
Well,
and
I'm taking notes, and I'm grateful. And that photo that I was commenting on earlier that's in my profile where my hair is like tied back really tight. Well, for the longest time I used to hide, and you can't see that well on the camera, but all of this.
Look at that hair. Beautiful.
Like 3 feet long. And I'm not sure why I hid that for a long time, but I did. Maybe it was because I felt I needed to show up in this, certain professional way, and that maybe that was too casual or too earthy, crunchy, too hippie, too I don't know what. But it is, it's such a huge part of who I am. I mean, I've had long hair for, I don't know, over 30 years. So
hair, I'm envious. There's me having to get hair extensions, and look at that gorgeous long hair. My bet is, and I come across this with a lot of women clients that I've worked with, hair is really, really important to women. Whether they've got lots of it, not enough of it, it's falling out. Somewhere along the line, women have been told that to be professional, there's certain things that have to do with their hair. Tie it back in a ponytail, have it well groomed. I challenge you to go out with your locks flowing, really, really
take it out and just kind of go like this. And well, with the black backdrop, you can't really see it that well, but.
But I invite you to do that, because this is the thing, originally in business, especially for women, business wasn't invented for women. So in order for them to kind of migrate into it, we've been taught, and especially corporately, that there's things you have to do that are very much like men. Men don't often have flowing locks unless they work in the music industry. So sometimes we confuse professionalism with being, being professional is one box, hair back, black. I like wearing black anyway, but, or have our hair out. And like you say, people might think I'm too hippie, and already people are saying your hair is gorgeous. It is gorgeous. And I'm coming to America with a big pair of scissors to take it.
Well, it's funny how Dustin taking that barrette down, the vibration is different. I feel a lot different. It's like, this is me. Why didn't I just do this? Why didn't I just do the whole program like that in the first place? But yeah, I am so grateful for that story, because otherwise I probably would have kept my hair up. And all the other amazing things that you shared today. So we're actually running just a little bit over time, but I would love for you to just take a couple minutes and just share with our viewers the Visibility Vibes program that you talked about a couple of times, because I am really, I want to do it again. I had so much fun. And if anybody who's listening, is really looking to get more visible out there, I would like them to just hear a little taste of what it is that they can expect if they were to do that with you.
So here's the thing, the vibes, VIBSES, can't even spell it myself. V is for visibility, I is for the impact you make, B is for how you biographically speak about what you do, E is the energy behind it, and S is speaking, whether it's on the phone, on a stage, or anything else. Now, what I actually want to offer anybody who's watching live or listening is actually a freebie. If you go to my website, I have a freebie that you can sign up for, which goes through each of those sections. It will ask you lots of different questions. And in those questions, there's basically a nice worksheet where you can listen to me asking you the questions. You can pause it, you can write it down, and you start to build your own visibility profile, if you like. It saves you from having to scratch your head and answer the who am I question. It asks you things like, where do you want to be more visible? How do you want to be more visible? Do you want to be in front of the video camera? Do you want to write more? Do you want to speak more? Do you want to do a mixture of all? It helps you to get clarity on how you want to show up in the world. So that's the first thing. The next thing is that if you go over to this wish.co.uk, which thank you very much, Leslie's put in the box there. If you sign up for it quite quickly, because it's going to be coming down in a few weeks, what you'll also get is an invitation to a webinar that I'm doing tomorrow, which is lots of quick and easy tips, visibility for very busy people. It's free of charge, so I'm not even going to ask you for anything. Now, so that's the first thing to do. What Leslie did, and thank you very much for talking about the visibility vibes, was a thin slice of the V part of visibility, and that's like standing out on video. It is giving you the confidence to get your, your phone or your tablet and make videos on the go. So if you think I'm joking, do look at my YouTube channel, because I demonstrate. I'm walking down the street, my hair's blowing up everywhere. There's videos of me on a train. And the reason that I want to teach people to do that is if you can consistently, in this case, over 12 days, make a video every day from your phone, no makeup on, just serving the people that you want to speak to. After that 12-day period, you will be happy to make a video a week. You won't care about studio lights and things like that. And for some people, it's a lot easier to speak out your message than write it down. And it's just one way in which you can show up in the world and show up for your clients.
No, very true. And in fact, I'm so inspired. I'm going to make a video as soon as we get off of this call.
Yeah. Go with your hair. Your hair is so gorgeous. I don't know how you can hide it from the world.
Thank you. Well, I'm done hiding it. I'm just going to let it all hang out. Well, everyone, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Jenny, my hat's off to you. Every time we spend time together, I always have some new insight, and I just love the way that you express things in a way that I happen to be ready to hear them, because even though I may have heard something similar before, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I get it now. So thank you so much for that. And for the folks who are joining us now live and those who catch us on the replay, do take advantage of the things that Jenny has to offer. So her contact information is listed in the chat box. So thanks again for joining. Many blessings. Have an extraordinary day, and come back again next week. So every Wednesday at 1 o'clock Eastern, Make an Impact is on, and we have great folks that come and share lots of wisdom and spread lots of love. So we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Jenny, stay on, and we'll chat for a couple minutes after the recording's done. All right. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Bye Young. Thank you, everyone else who joined us.
Yes, thanks so much, everyone.
Bye.